This is Arcadience, Episode 2. What up, zeros and ones? My name is Mike Bust, and you're watching Arcadience, Episode 2, Baby Boomer Biker Gangs. This episode will focus on a shooter from the 80s that's kind of like a gorgeously colored cat that looks like the sweetest little animal in the world, but has a bad attitude, razor-sharp claws, and is covered in vampiric fleas. Fleas which are also deceivingly adorable. Let's jump in a sentient spaceship with legs and do this! Although Fantasy Zone 2 is technically a shmup, its enclosed level design and aggressive enemies give it some claustrophobic elements that titles in the genre rarely achieve. Playing this game requires a sharp eye at the perimeters of the screen to avoid waves of enemies dropping in unexpectedly and smashing you out of the sky. The basic premise is that you are on a planet with a series of areas that are interconnected through warp portals, which are filled with what could be best described as bases that must be destroyed in order to move on to the boss. The bases appear to be creating wormholes in which they are in a perpetual process of emerging, and by destroying them you sew up the holes in the space-time continuum and save the planet from certain doom. To my mind, the most interesting play gimmick is that your ship has variable speed, which is modified through purchases at the game's shops. Ship speed is a bit of a double-edged sword, as slow speeds leave you at the mercy of the game's very fast ships, and the fastest engines you can purchase will leave you white-knuckled as you whir around attempting not to crash headlong into the baddies. For purchases, I focused primarily on upgrading my engines to all but the fastest model, and then shelled out for extra lives, red and blue bottles for health increases, and shields. The only weapons I picked up were those with infinite ammo. Now, while capturing footage of this game on my Dazzle capture device, I had to shrink the scale to 4:3 to cut down on some of the lag I was experiencing in preview, as twitch reflexes are of the utmost value in playing. Gentle viewers, if lime green and neon pink give you eye allergies, you're going to want to put on your darkest sunglasses irregardless of the time of day. This is Arcadience versus Fantasy Zone 2. For all of you now tied to me, I hope you have a safety net, 'cause I've been playing solitaire on a collapsing table. Of all the hands stretched out to me, none I feel see my truest side. All these expectations would have left me trampled, with no one wiser for the loss. It seems that play is just a state of mind. Work is all the things that come in between. My intention to bring us north, and the paralyzing breeze now deceased from following those errant rules, making sure I'm always on. The message is so very clear yet unresponsive. For all of you now tied to me, truly hope you take your own advice, 'cause I have listened all along to your riddling words. They would have left me all alone. There's a knot upon a bright red cord, solitary support on the leash. I keep my camera lens collapsed to absorb all your figures of speech. Sure we know that it's all been said and done, yet we cede control to ever capricious gods. Sure we know that we've all been underrun, yet we cede control to ever capricious laws. Sleep tightly in the knowledge that the truth is all you see. I want to point out something here. You see these red UFOs? Their drivers resemble balding men following close together as they speed about. They remind me of seeing baby boomers forming ad hoc biker gangs and zooming around on their Harleys like American Graffiti came out yesterday. Which is odd considering the game takes place in the year 6216. Will the 63rd century be plagued by yuppies touring the wine country and causing havoc everywhere? Is this Sega's twisted version of the post-apocalypse, or a biting commentary on the most deadly amongst us? This is Arcadience. And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning into episode 2 of Arcadience Baby Boomer Biker Gangs. You've been watching Fantasy Zone 2, of course, which is available on the Wii Virtual Console. 500 Wii points. Good times. Coming up next week, Blaine Sullivan of the band Sabretooth Zombie is going to come on, discuss bass playing in a hard rock band, touring up and down the California coast. He's going to share some stories with us, hopefully. Other topics that we will discuss are what it's like to be an independent musician in the era of free MP3 downloads. Also, who would win in a fist fight? William Faulkner or Dostoevsky? Here's a little snippet of a conversation we had recently discussing Blaine walking into a bank with a band shirt on, for which he is a sibling of one of the members. And the guy at the bank revealing that he also had a shirt of the same band on under his bank attire, but Blaine didn't bother to say anything to him about who he was. Funny conversation. Here we go.
You know, so if I would have told his coworker, "Oh, I know all your noise," it would have been this whole thing, and don't want it. Yeah. It just requires a lot of explaining. And I just don't want to...
But doesn't the pride you have for, like, having been part of this legacy of music that has been, like, overseas and is, like... I mean, because if you think about the human animal as, like, a species, and if you think of, like, all of these individual people making up this collective consciousness, if you will, you know, let's reference some Durkheim, why don't we?
Yeah, there you go.
You know, you're actually a part of the being, and like you stretch into this like oblivion of genetics that supports the entirety of the species. You don't want to like tell people about that when they actually are like, oh yeah, I recognize that branch of the human animal. So tune in, we'll have a great conversation with Blaine Sullivan, Sabretooth Zombie. This is Mike Bust, Arcadience. Goodbye.